Welcome to another episode of the TruExact Show. I got my friend Eric Bryan here, and I am joined by a special guest, and I mean very special. This man is a legend out on the West Coast, or just in rap in general. The Saurus, two-time World Rap Champion, two-time Scribble Jam Champ, by the way. The Saurus, you were nice enough to come on, man. What we like to do out here on the East Coast is, get some of the battle rappers we grew up watching. You're probably the reason it took me 3 years to graduate a two-year college, because I used to sneak in to the computer lab and watch the 2007 World Rap Championships. So if my parents are watching, blame him down there, not me.
That's super fire. I did the same thing with junior college. It took me 3 years to finish junior college as well. So don't trip. We're in the same boat.
Thank you. All right, you're probably a little more successful, but it is what it is.
Battling had a lot to do with like why it was delayed, but it also had a lot to do, like junior college had a lot to do with why I started taking battling more seriously, and then more opportunities started presenting themselves, and I was like, well, then fuck, I'm only going to take 2 classes this semester so that I don't have to worry about having to bounce on a full workload if something unrefusable passes up or presents itself,
Right. So what we want to ask though is we don't know your story as far as we watch your battles, since Spin the Mic even back in 06. So how did you get into it, man? How'd you get started out there?
Basically, my hometown, I'd say I was probably, when I first started freestyling, I was probably 16, something like that. I was a sophomore, junior in high school. Had a friend in high school that I would rap with. And there was a thing in my hometown that happened every week called Freestyle Friday, where it was a bunch of the older hip-hop heads, or at the time were older, they were probably later teens or early 20s, right, and shit. But a lot of people that I'm still really close with to this day. But they would go down to a certain area in the town that I grew up in Monterey, California, in the Bay Area, or Central Coast. Mm-hmm. And they would have either people would be beatboxing and they would be freestyling, or someone would have a boom box and they would just rap over instrumentals. And I would just go down there every week and listen to it, and I was absolutely blown away by it. I thought it was something I could do, and then the thing itself started picking up some more momentum, so they eventually got booked to where it was now they had a weekly venue for it to take place, and that enabled us to bring in our boys who were DJs. So we had 2 sets of turntables, people spinning instrumentals, and then we had 4 mics, and we would just get up and freestyle, do 4-bar trade-offs and 8-bar, and ask for topics from the crowd and freestyle stories and shit like that. And I was just soaking it in, and then eventually one night I was just I gotta see if I'm built for this, see if this is something I'm made of. And at this point, I'm probably 18 or something like that. Yeah. I was I got to see if I can actually hang with the big dogs. So I jump in the mix and basically just shut shit down ridiculously. And they were sort of yo, what have you been waiting for? Because up until that point, I had really just freestyled with my close friends. I really didn't want to get shot. What I didn't want to have happen was to get battled by one of the big dogs who I'd been looking up to, But one of my best friends, Steve, who at the time he went by Invincible Steve or IS, he was the dude at the time, and he came up to me afterwards and was yo, man, that was ridiculous. You need to be doing something with this. So then, once I had validation from him, it was okay, let's start taking this a little more seriously. But still, this is 2000. I graduated high school in 99. This is still this is pre-YouTube. This is pre-8 Mile. Yeah. So I'm entering ciphers, open mics, things like that. Anything that I can really get comfortable with my craft and be able to perform for people. And that was what led me to going to junior college, and I was fuck, I need to take an elective to keep me interested in showing up here every day. So I decided to take theater acting to get more comfortable on stage, and then ended up being really I kind of excelled in that field as well. So that's what I ended up working on for my degree. My associates was theater acting and directing. And then we had the 8 Mile boom, so to speak, which was 02 or something like that. Once that happened, all of a sudden it wasn't just 1 or 2 noteworthy battles taking place a year. It was like any venue in a town that had a hip hop scene was booking battles, and for any amount of money, and that's how I got into it.
I have to tell you too, like that wasn't. I want to know how it was out there, because out here in New Jersey, literally, me personally, Brian, even we walked out of 8 Mile and we were like, I want to battle. So like you would go to parties. You would go to parties and be battling.
I was a party MC. That was like before battling became a real thing. That was what me and my friends did. Once I got in with the circle, the Freestyle Friday crew, who are now even to this day, it's like family to me. But we would just show up at parties around town, and people we didn't know, and some of the area that we grew up in, it's like very upper crusty. Like Pebble Beach, California, is a very upper. It's like a gated upper 1% community type of shit.
Yeah.
But some of these kids who are living there are going they're going there. We were partying in these absurd rap video mansions, and we would just show up, and someone who was there would be like, "Oh shit! Like the rappers are here. You got to let these guys through. Like get these guys a cup for the keg. Get these guys whatever." So we were like the entertainment wherever they went or wherever we went type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And then once I had venues and outlets to be able to battle in, it was an absolute game changer. When 8 Mile dropped, I actually I told pretty much all of my friends who didn't rap, I was like, yo, I got to go see this solo for the first time I see it, because I was like, yo, I'm not trying to be a dick or anything, but I'm going to process this differently than you guys. And I want to do that at my own accord type of shit,
Right.
Yeah. So I went and I left blown away. I was like, fuck, I need to go murk somebody right now. And then by that, I mean the Bay Area and California in general, as soon as something like that hit and venues realized it was a profitable venture, game over. People are throwing even, $250, $500, and then the big ones every month or two for $1,000 plus wherever they were. And then I think 02 or 03, an event happened in Santa Cruz. It was the first organized battle that I ever went to. And that was where I met Tantrum for the first time.
Right.
And we battled in the finals of that event, and we ended up going 7 or 8 rounds. He just had as many bars as I did. And we were just like, yo, let's just split the money. And it was something, $150 a piece or something like that. But it was okay, cool. Now I've sort of established myself in this area in Santa Cruz, which was just up the coast for me, had more of a hip hop scene because I was from a very small town. And then that really started opening some doors. Then I heard about Tourette's Without Regrets shortly after that. Once I heard about that and started going up there, I was like, oh, okay, this is where we find out if we can really hang with the Bay Area OGs and shit. The guys like Arukasaki, Infinite.
Well, you battled him a couple of times, Arukasaki, right?
Multiple times. The first time I went up there, he beat me. He was he was their king, you know what I'm saying? 6 or 7 time defending champion, and he fucking beat me, and I was just like, fuck. But Jamie DeWolf, the dude who throws that event, still to this day throws Tourette's Without Regrets. He's probably one of the 3 most influential people for me as far as me being where I am today. He's one of the 3 most responsible people. For sure. Because he did, as soon as he saw me, even I lost to Arukasaki, and he's like, yo, you got to come back here. You're an absolute animal. You need to come back. He went back the next month, and I beat 5 former champions in a row to win my first title. And then people are like, yo, who is this alien? Juggernaut, you know what I'm saying? I was the first person who was mixing I wasn't just making reference disses. I was making comparison disses, but the name of the person rhymed with the comparison, which people had not seen yet. Up until that point, it was, you look like so-and-so, a crackhead version of so-and-so.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I come in and I'm like, you're like James Vanderbeek on 8 grams of tweak. And people are like, wait, what? And I mean, even at the time, I didn't realize what I was doing, I knew I was doing something unique, but I didn't realize I was literally setting the standard at the time.
They the Arukasaki battle, I think, if I recall, I remember watching that a long time ago. You called him the Splinter or something, and he flipped it on you and said, like,
Yeah.
Arugasaki was the Shredder, and I'm the one who's better. I remember watching that. So
Something
I do recall that battle.
I mean, I've battled him literally 6 or 7 times. We have some crazy back and forth with each other.
But your 8 Mile story is way better than my movie because my movie encounter, because I went with my cousin who had to bring me when she was 18 at the time, and it was awkward during the sex scene where we kind of had to like not make eye contact with each other.
Yeah, even that scene itself is hella awkward too, though, because there's like no music. It's just all like very breathy and shit. It's still to this day, I'm like, that's a weird scene. You know what I'm saying? R.I.P. Brittany Murphy, but that's a weird scene.
Yeah. An acapella sex scene is very awkward.
Yeah, you feel me? Especially in a movie with such a dope soundtrack to begin with. And like the core of the movie is hip hop music. Like, bro, you could put something behind that, and you know, there's so many different things you could have. I mean, there's a big song on the soundtrack. You could have put like anything similar behind it.
Brian, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm not. I mean, I know battle rap, but I'm not as well versed as Scott is. Scott's a lot deeper into it. But I remember like the first people that I ever saw was you and Ilmac. When you were doing like the tag team battles, like
yeah, for sure.
Now, when did he come into the picture?
So the first time we ever met was 2005. I knew who he was for a couple years prior because he had like developed some legitimate hype for himself. He started winning battles in like 01 or 02 in Portland. We had some like mutual friends. He won Scribble in 04.
At 16, right?
He was 17 when he won Scribble, which is absolutely insane. And he beat Swan and Mac Lethal.
And yeah.
Like,
Mac Lethal.
Who are you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Bruh, that's so insane. I remember I was in Greece at the time. Like I was on an island in Greece. I used to go there every summer. And I was just chilling. I was at like this little pub called the Fun Pub where you can go and watch movies. I knew all the staff, so I was drinking beers with the staff, and they had internet there. It was like straight internet cafe. This is, you know, still a time where everything's dial-up speed and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I go on to like the old rapmusic.com forums just to check in on battle rap because I'd been out of touch with the world for a month. And I see that day Ilmac had won Scribble, and I was like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I hit him. Then we started chopping up just over like AOL Instant Messenger, which is some OG shit for sure.
Oh, we're showing all of our age here.
And then 2005, an event hit the Bay Area called Mind Games that a dude named Philip Drummond threw, or that's what he went by at the time.
Yeah, isn't that the guy with different strokes?
Yeah, I was kidding. That was his alias that he went by. This dude, Philip Drummond, a.k.a. Elliot, the homie for sure, another OG pioneer of the battle scene. This dude, to this day, has like the largest old school video or DVD archive of battle rap footage from like 01 to 06, all freestyle era, before it was standardized for everything to be recorded and before people had fucking camera phones, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this guy was just the infinite wealth of footage. Him and another dude in the Bay Area put on the Mind Games event. It was a one-on-one, or there was like a regular battle, 32-man tournament. First place was 2 racks. And then there was a tag team tournament. And Ilmac had already confirmed that he was coming down for the regular tournament. I was confirmed doing it as well. And we were just sort of like chopping it up on Instant Messenger. And I was like, yo, like, has anybody talked to you about doing the 2-on-2 yet? And he's like, no, why? Are we trying to just ambush everybody? And I'm like, let's do it. And just not say anything until the day of. So then I ended up like picking him up from the airport. He flew down from Portland. I picked him up like from the airport the morning of the event. It was the first time we ever met. And I just like rolled up a couple of blunts and we just started like smoking and freestyling in my car and sort of just like feeling out the pace of the other person's cadence and whatnot. And I mean, it's pretty simple. We were just like, let's try to just 4-bar trade off as much as we can, you know? And then we ended up losing in the final 4 of the tag team tournament to the team who eventually won it, a team from Arizona called Rock and Callus. And I I ended up losing in the finals of the one-on-one battle to Franco, and Ilmac lost in the final 4 to Franco, like the round before.
Wow.
And he kind of got jerked, but I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Franco definitely like legitimately beat me, but Ilmac beat Franco in the first regular rounds, but then they made them go to overtime, and Franco just kind of like smoked the OT.
Right. But you and Ilmac went off each other like better. You know how, first of all, I have to say, I interviewed Chase Moore on here, and I told him how I found out about you and Ilmac. So I was very like East Coast prideful, right, in 2006.
Word.
And somebody messaged me. They go, I want to say it was this dude Remzon, AIM, right? So he was like, look at these 2 West Coast dudes crush these East Coast dudes. And I think it was Don P and Sage Badweather.
Oh, yeah.
So I click on it, and I'm like, no way. Like, and you and Ilmac just slaughtered him. I go, oh, my God. To where, like, I went to jumpoff.tv, and I just started fucking watching all of them. And so Cyanide, Imagine See, where you said Cyanide, you wouldn't try
Cyanide
to
was around recently. Cyanide was apparently at the event where I battled Marv 1 for iBattle just like in January.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
like, I had no idea.
Yeah, so like you just breezed through the competition. I think the only ones who kind of gave you a problem a bit were I think Mad Ills and Parable.
Mad Ills and Parable were the only team that even like made it competitive.
But like the worst, was that your first time on the East Coast? Because it was in New York, right?
Battling? No, Spin the Mic was before that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because
Spin the Mic, I feel like was my first. No, actually, my first time battling on the East Coast was the MTV event that Rain Man won, the Def Jam MTV rap battle that Rain Man
won. The one Locksmith lost him on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The one where Marv 1 was on TV. So I made it through like 3. Okay, so the first one happened. I went to that in New York. That was like maybe 2000. I go out there. You had to wait in line, and they were accepting the first 1,000 people in line. So people were waiting overnight. I started waiting at like 4 in the morning. The line was already like 200 or 300 people deep. I basically battled my way to the front 25 of the fucking line.
Yeah.
But then right when they're about to open up shop and let the first 1,000 people in, someone in the very back of the line pulls a strap out and starts waving it like, well, I know I'm getting my place in line. So everybody starts running. The next thing you know, the line was set up like serpentine style with like the metal fences set up. All the fences just collapse over onto like 5 different rows of a few hundred people. It was so ridiculous. And so that event ends up getting canceled. We all end up flooding out into the street of Times Square. I'm like tripping out like, yo, the biggest opportunity. Maybe, I mean, at the time I was looking at it like this is the biggest opportunity of my life. It was like 2000 or 2001. I wanted to make something of myself, and I was like, I can do this. I can beat these people type of shit. It ends up getting canceled because it turns into like a riot. I'm like in the middle of the street wondering what's going on. Next thing you know, I have the old school brick Nokia phone. That shit rings. It's my friend calling me. He sees it on the news as it's happening. He's like, yo, are you in the middle of Times Square right now? And I'm like, yeah, how do you know that? And he's like, bruh, the helicopters circling you guys are covering it on the news. Oh, it's so crazy. So then I go back a year later. Awesome. I had to like apply and qualify. Right. Go back a year later. They accept my application because I had won like some local battles at the time. I get through. I think they accepted 1,000 apps or something like that. Then they had the 8 radio winners. Marv 1 was one of those guys. So was Locksmith. Yeah. And I get through whatever it was, 3 or 4 rounds of preliminary shit. First thing, I had to spit a 16 just right off top for like the audition crew. They're like, okay, you're into the next round. Then I had to battle some random dude. Okay, next step of the process. Then I had to battle like the casting guy or something along those lines. It was like basically the dude who was determining whether or not I was going to be on the air. And I guess for whatever reason, he just wasn't feeling it. And I remember being hella salty because literally the person who was next to me in line, who went in right after me, was the person who ended up losing first round on TV to Marv 1.
And what was that person? What was that person's credentials that they could choose like that?
I'm probably
Like-
something to do with either Def Jam or MTV. I mean, it was a Def Jam contest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I assume it's like a scout or someone, an A&R or something like that, someone who works high enough for Def Jam, because what they're looking for is potentially the next Def Jam artist.
Yeah.
And realistic, especially at the time, I was like a 19-year-old kid. I don't think I fit that mold. I would have won the battle if they would have just put me in the tournament. I would have won the battle.
If you looked at
but I don't
you
think
and
that would've
Rain,
happened.
you and Rain Man, I don't think you were fitting the mold of what Def Jam really wanted.
And Rain Man, that's like one of my favorites of all time to this day. Is his run through that is still so fire to me.
That's
Shout out
crazy.
to
We
him.
actually just we did an interview with Locksmith like a week ago. So that's
Dope.
crazy.
He's good people.
That's
Really
crazy
good people.
how this like coincided like that, man.
Did he talk about battle rap at all?
He talked about
we
that
got into that
specific
whole
event.
thing.
Like
Dope.
I didn't
That's
know
fire.
I didn't know you were on it though. I really didn't even know you were a part of that. That's crazy.
Funny story. It involves me and Locksmith, but nothing crazy. But I remember this was shortly I believe he had just battled Diz. Maybe had also just battled Pass. Like things were looking good for him rap battle wise in grind time. And I remember Lush was like, yo, he came to the event where I was battling Dumbfounded. And this was before me and Dumb battled, and Lush was like, yo, like it's Locke and EA Ski who came through. And Lush was just like, yo, like thank you guys so much for coming through. We definitely got to book you another battle at the next Bay Area event for sure. And Locke was like, yeah, I got like a couple of people on my radar type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And then me and Dumbfounded happens. And in the building, I bodied Dumbfounded. In the building.
I think that was, by the way, his people probably still hate you for that battle.
You can just check the YouTube comments. They hate me. But in the building, I landslided him.
Yeah,
and I remember right after it happens, like they go up to Lush and they're like, the next battle will not be against the Saurus. I thought that's super fire. Like
I'll never forget the coin.
You know
I'll never forget the coin toss on that, where like he said the wrong thing, and you were like,
"Oh yeah," and I'm like,
your eyes checked. And then I'll never forget Satire just goes, "What an asshole!" Like, what an asshole! Just the most calmest. What an asshole!
That was like vintage me for sure.
I have to ask you. So in 06, you beat Zest and Rain on the rooftop and shit. So 07 was like a different format. You were battling all day and all night. And there was more rounds, more divisions. And you kind of breezed through that one too.
It was crazy. The thing is,
was it a little less organized though, because there was more people? You think?
Yeah, it felt a little less organized, but we knew it was significantly larger regardless of that. We knew that our big advantage was having already gone through it once. We knew how to pace ourselves to be good the entire day instead of like gassing out in one or two battles or something like that, which is what a lot of teams did. And we just would just sit back. We used our downtime to just assess the competition and come up with ideas. Right. Be like, okay, we can say that to them next time. Okay, we can say that to them when we battle them. And we would just sort of like different shit people were saying throughout the day to get a reaction. It's always going to like keep sparking thought. The only thing that was whack about it is that like our fuel, it was like a 10-hour day. Yeah. And our fuel for the day was fucking like Pepsi, water, and Kirkland pizza from Costco. It's like, yo, man, we need, for that long of a day, we need some better fuel for sure, especially for a competition where so much is at stake, like end game wise. You know, if you want the best result, you've got to properly like fuel the.
I always wonder how the teammates got formed in that one. Like, obviously you and Ilmac, but like, how does a guy? I don't want to bash rhetoric, but like, how does the guy like No Can not get a bet? Like,
they were Project Bloat. They were Project Bloat heads. I think No Can. That's probably No Can's choice, to be honest. Yeah,
because like his freestyle.
No Can knew he could. You know, there's probably other options for him. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the other people from Project Bloat who had already paired up made perfect sense pairing together. Mm-hmm. And I think they had probably agreed to do it before No Can was like, oh shit, 50 racks, I need to get in on this.
Right.
Because he was, without a question, even at the time, like to me, No-Can was the best freestyle battler in the world, even at the time that was going on. Even regardless of like me and Ill's accolades up until that point and shit. He was just fresh off of like winning Scribble. Fucking, he was, oh man.
I gotta ask about Scribble Jam too, because it doesn't exist anymore, right? It's done.
It's pretty crazy how it's how it's, if you knew about it, you know about it. And if you didn't know then you don't know now. It's crazy.
Now, Real Deal said, well, we had Real Deal on too, and he said you were the most intimidating person he faced in that stage. How did you approach Scribble differently than these like battles? Like, was it just
I honestly, like competition like that, I thought that shit was like designed for me because my bread and butter was that shit. I came from that format. That's what the whole Tourette's Without Regrets format, when I was battling Iruku and everybody in the Bay, that shit was just preparing me for shredding through Scribble. Because what a lot of people don't realize is at the peak of Tourette's Without Regrets era, just in the Bay Area, we're looking at 16 to 32 MCs in the battle, and it's going to be me, Lush, Passwords, potentially guys like Ilmac, Franco, Frank Jones, Old Man Miller, who was dope back in the day, D-Lore, who was like an OG who battled in Grind Time as well and who was a really good freestyle battler, Kodiak, rest in peace, Bull Rat. We had so many heavyweights just in the Bay Area alone that just sparring with each other on a weekly and monthly basis like kept the swords as sharp as can be. And when I'm battling in the finals of that, I wasn't facing anyone who is necessarily like much tougher than anyone I've already battled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's not going to be a lot of people that are going to be tougher for me to beat than Passwords or Franco, period, in freestyle battling. You know what I'm saying? So when I go somewhere and it's like someone I have never even seen or heard before, there's really no reason for me to sweat it. I remember in 2008, the second year I won, the lineup of people that I battled to beat, it's ridiculous. It's like a Hall of Fame lineup. I go Sunny Bamboo, Fresco, Kid Twist, Tantrum, No Can Do for the title. That's a lineup.
We actually just watched your Fresco battle last week, me and Eric over here.
No one's seen the freestyle battle where I beat him.
No.
And that he'll even say too, he's even said in like an interview that the reason he wanted to beat me so badly when we battled for King of the Dot was because I was like the first and I think maybe even only person who he ever lost to in a freestyle battle. Right. He was washing people in the Midwest and just no one had seen anyone like him before. He was hella self-aware too. And like at the time he looked a lot more hipster, you know what I'm saying? Now he's just like clean cut, but back then he obviously had like the different hair and whatnot. He looked much more hipstery, and it threw people for a loop. People hadn't seen anyone like that, especially in the Midwest. People hadn't seen anybody rapping like that. He was serving fools, and I think I was the first person to like clearly beat him in a freestyle battle.
Now, I know
that's like that dude. Not that I don't want to move from it too quick, but that's like that dude Carter Deems.
Yeah.
Word.
Right? Where he does not fit. Like you look at him and you're like, what the fuck is he about to say?
He's such a curveball.
And then he kills people.
He's unbeatable. It's an unbeatable style.
He's like the human cheat code. It's so you can't. You just have to hope that you can. Like I battled him, and all you could really do is just hope to be entertaining enough to make the battle even remotely like debatable, and then it's a win because he is so hard to beat. He's hilarious. You can't root against him. He knows everything you're gonna say to clown him, so he clowns himself.
Yeah,
and then he does the street shit too, which is just even more funny. Oh, I love that shit.
It's so entertaining that it's almost like you can't not give it to him, you know?
Absolutely.
I'm
glad that he got the look on Wild 'N Out too. It's amazing.
Yeah. Him versus Ilmac, he's like, I always want to give a Gnome 5. That's my
amazing.
Gnome 5.
That like literally shook the venue when it happened.
Also, too, you were on the roof at that time, right? Again, in a fight with Boondock.
I could feel the venue shake. We were like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Just like they could feel the venue shake when Disaster chokeslammed Billy Bruno.
Hey, I have to
You know
ask you,
what
that's a
I'm
good segue though, Brian, because like the way Carter Deems is now, it so much shows the evolution of the rap battles. Because like, you know, in 06 or when you were starting, you didn't have a guy like that really. Like it's almost like it's a harder to break
Not in
through
the
as that.
written leaks. You had that. There were certain areas where you had characters like that. And I mean, even in like 02, 01, 02, 03, that was like a time where you would see more. There wasn't just like 3 to 5 cookie cutter styles that people chose from to use effectively like you see today. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you could be a different, unique character back in the day and it could work for you because you could just get by being yourself. In the Scribble era, for sure, people were successful with that. But once the grind time, the thing is with the timing of the grind time era starting is that it started and was sort of built around a time where me and Ilmac had just displayed for the last couple years what the like air quote winning formula was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So people were like, well, and if this is going to be judged, even less reason to step in there and take risk and be a risky character to risk losing is how a lot of people looked at it. You know what I'm saying? It was mostly just like, fuck, I want to win. This is what it takes to win battles these days. This is the standard these guys have set. So people sort of strayed away from it. I think the first person that made it clear that you didn't have to do that was Dumbfounded.
Yeah.
He just instantly started going, like all his battles started going viral. The next thing you know, he had like his own YouTube that was popping as fuck and like bigger than the Grind Time YouTube and shit. He was the first person to really show people like, nah, you don't have to follow the cookie cutter mold. You can still be yourself.
But your formula transcended all the way to the East Coast too, because
for sure. And like, there's still people who like use it to this day. It's wild.
When I saw you guys with the whole like the multi stuff, when we started battling at parties, I was utilizing that. Like honestly,
for sure.
Like rode the pipe, motorbike. I know I'm hype. You know what I mean? So it's that type of formula, and you saw it with Waps and Juice from New York.
Oh, absolutely. They were like they were one of the clearest cases. I feel like just the majority of teams the second year in general, you saw the influence that we had from one year to the next. It was crazy. We even sat like once footage started coming out from every region, like what their battles were looking like, we were like, yo, what the fuck did we start? Like we need to be everybody in the finals is going to be trying to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
That's why Kid Twist, when he battled you, it was a great line where he said, I blame you for Frankie Waps and Jay's Juice, and for that, I hate you.
I hate
not
you,
not to knock them, because it was kind of like, I felt bad for them because they were in the building. Do you ever found out who stole the tapes from 07 or no?
I battled Marv on iBattle in January, and we talk about it.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so I could go find out. Like,
for sure. Marv like basically in the battle says he did, but he's still very cryptic about it. So,
really?
Yeah, there's still like sort of room for imagination, I guess.
iBattle is Lexusist, right? He actually just messaged me back a few days ago, so I do want to.
Lex is the man. That's a really good dude. Definitely someone you should interview. Like his battle rap knowledge in general is crazy. He's super passionate about like where the state of the scene is today and how we can improve it, how he can help improve it. He's like very strong in his opinions, but he's not wrong in many of them. So he's very like, this is the way it is. I like how Lex has grown over the years. He used to just battle. He used to just be a battle rapper. And then once he took over iBattle, because iBattle like has existed since 2012, 2013, something like that. Whenever I battled Nestle, that was that's how long that league has been around. But Lex hasn't owned it for longer than maybe 3.5 years or something like that. He started with like beast mode, and then eventually took over.
That's the thing. Like, I wish I could keep up as much as I did. Even me and Brian used to watch a lot, but you get older. There's so many battlers. It's like
for sure. Oh, it's insane now.
It's so
crazy.
hard to keep up. But when did you realize it was hitting like the level it was? So you had Grind Time. Obviously, Organic started King of the Dot. You had the Elements League up there in Canada, and it all kind of merged. And like, at what battle was it? The Disaster DNA one where Drake was there, or was it before that? When you were like,
that was pretty big. I feel like even when Dumbfounded and Tantrum battled, once that went viral, I think that was when we realized, like, that. I mean, that was just Grind Time, but that was the first million-view Grind Time battle.
Mm-hmm.
That shit went absolutely haywire. That was the first battle that really did numbers that we were like, oh, wow, this is something.
Right.
Like, this is no longer just like, hey, we're going to throw some events and have some fun with our friends. Like, this could be something, you know? And then I think just year by year, the way that it's grown, it just kind of like the bar keeps being reset. Now Smack just continues like resetting the level with these like different app deals and fucking, you know, all the streaming services and whatnot. It's insane.
Now
I gotta hold on 1 second. I gotta ask this. Yeah. Take away what he did before he started. Who do you think won Joe Budden and Hollow to Don?
Hollow for sure. I don't think it's even like a very close battle. I think Joe was trying to please the battle rap audience more than he was trying to be Joe Budden.
He was trying to sway the crowd.
Yeah, and it's like, what? You're Joe Budden, man. You just be you. You know what I'm saying?
His disses on tracks are incredible. To at least
he's way better on for sure, no question.
Pain in His Life was one of my favorite diss records.
Yeah, so as far as like just bars on like written verses with BT is amazing. I have to ask, when I don't want to bring it up, but like the Diaz Poe Rich battle. Now, when they brought up what they brought up about your father, now, do you get more mad at that because you don't have the camaraderie with them, as to where Pat Stay didn't? You kind of know Pat Stay a little more, or did it just?
No, I've actually been cool with Rich for a long time. It just the thing is, the difference really for me is Pat hit me up like before we even battled and was like, yo, like, I just want to give you a heads up on this. Like, obviously we've always been cool. I'm not trying to have anything pop off at the event.
Yeah.
I've been a little lazy with my writing, and this is some of the material that I have basically. And Pat giving me the heads up alone, I'm like, okay, I can respect that. And I was just like, well, now at least I know that I don't even have to listen when he's rapping.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him straight up, I was like, if that's what you're going to do, then it's not going to be enough to win. And
that's what that. That's what me.
But the way like Rich did it, though, to me, it was just like, yo, like he was trying to get a reaction for sure. It's unfortunate that he succeeded it's unfortunate that I reacted and they succeeded, basically, because I feel like minus that, the battle probably doesn't get voted the way it does. The thing that irks me about that shit, though, is just the judge's decision was never on camera. Like, with every single judged KOTD battle, the judge's decisions are on camera following the battle, except for that one where it just so happens like a small pile of money is on the line. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, yo, I at least want to know why they think we lost. Because if you're just going on material, it's not remotely close. It's not in the same hemisphere. It really wasn't. And, like, I mean, I have personally not gone back and even watched the battle. Like, it's been over 4 years or something, like
maybe
5 years.
Maybe longer, honestly.
No, since I've watched it. It's been at least like 5 years since I've watched it. But I know that it hasn't aged favorably. Their material, there's no way it's aged favorably.
Right.
It was all so bland.
Now, I know Eric asked this a lot. Like, we always wonder, like, how do you guys sit there and take that? Like, Eric asked me all the time, do you think you could have ever gotten into it? And I go, honestly, I don't know if I could sit there and take some of the shit that was said to me. Because you just, like, let it go.
The guy was talking about the dude was talking about your daughter, and you're just sitting there like, how do you not want to just, like...
You want to, for sure. You definitely want to. You have to. There's multiple things to look at, though. You got, first of all, am I willing to not get paid over what's being said right now? Second, am I willing to not only not get paid for that, but potentially burn that bridge for good.
Yeah.
Which then could start then you sort of get looked at as a liability.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't work a 9 to 5. I play cards and I rap. I can't just cut out like an entire stream of income for myself. I mean, you have to be able to laugh at yourself regardless. Whenever people the thing is that I always look at, everybody has their own line. So while I won't cross a certain line when I battle somebody, that doesn't mean that they're not going to. And because of like the nature of the sport of what we're doing, doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong just because I don't agree with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if someone feels like it's a battle, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Okay, that's cool. I'm just going to tune it out because I know what type of person does that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm just going to think about like, damn, after this, like we're going to have hella fun.
Yeah.
You know, like you just find a better place to think. It's just, there's so many potential negatives that you can create with just one like snap.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's really not worth it, especially at this point. Like it is.
Especially with all the leagues going on, like you're risking the London League, the Australia League. So like you
I'm still trying to see the world, and you know what I'm saying. I'm not. The last thing I'm trying to do is have anybody have to like second guess, like, yo, he's a little hot headed. We can't have any of that shit. You know. Yeah. I mean, people know. Anybody who's booked me knows I'm like the easiest person to book and get along with, and I'm very easy to deal with as far as like accommodations and shit like that. As long as I'm aware of what's going on, we're straight. Like I'm such a non-headache for leagues to deal with. I'm very easygoing. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of that is because I solely like I'm lucky enough to not have to 100% rely on battling. Yeah. So it's like more of a bonus for me. It's just like, oh, it's like a dope like part-time job. It's like a well-paying part-time job.
I just got to ask really quick. You could say yes or no, and then we'll move on immediately. You and Iron Solomon, will it ever happen again or no?
Probably not. I mean, it's not on me. It's with that King of the Dots tried to book it 5 times, and at least 5 times.
And
he says no every single time. Yeah, he says no every time. Which is weird because he's told me he wanted to do it, and he like called me out in multiple battles. So it's strange to me.
That's so weird.
All we have is you and him outside of Spin the Mic for like 3 minutes, right? Like that was it. That's the
for
only
$50 each.
Yeah. So
to piggyback. Oh, go ahead.
No, go on, Eric.
Go ahead.
I was saying to piggyback off Scott's last question, like how brutal the art form is. Do you think if it gets bigger and mainstream, it might lose a little bit of that because of like the PC culture movement, and even comedians now are kind of like getting in trouble? Like, because I was watching some battles today, and from like 10 years ago, dudes are throwing, you know, the F word around, like you know. And like
so some things like that will have definitely aged rather poorly. Yeah. It's something that I've eliminated out of my battles as well. Like you'll notice after maybe 2014 or something, I think was the last battle I dropped one in, because you reached a point where it was just pointless to do, and it does stunt the growth, absolutely, stuff like that. But I also have to look at it like sort of similar to stand-up comedy, where it is one of the last few, even more so maybe than comedy, because of the nature of it. Because the nature of it is to break your opponent down by whatever means you define that. I think it's like one of the very few remaining safe spaces for free speech at that level. And there's still shit that you can avoid. So there's things that are just plain lazy that you don't need to say to convey your point. Yeah. There's more creative ways than just dropping the F-bomb nowadays, especially. You know what I'm saying? You can like you can tastefully still have a gay joke for someone and make it work as long as you're doing it the right way. And I think that's cool. Like that shows the creative levels that people are willing to take it to, which is good. I think the key is it has to be for it to take the next step, which I guess would probably be some sort of like televised shit, something like that, unless it hits a bigger streaming service, Amazon Prime or Netflix or something. But if it were to hit some sort of TV network, it has to be uncensored.
Right.
You can't.
Oh, you can't
You
censor it.
cannot limit.
No.
You just
I-
you can't at all.
I've been wondering this for like
One giant
11
leap.
years. Yeah, I've been wondering this 11 years. Like, I think a Sirius XM channel of just battles would be phenomenal.
That'd be
I
super
think that
dope.
I think
agree.
that would be amazing. Like,
There's a lot
on
of like King of the Dot has a Spotify station with
Really?
most of their battles, which is
Perfect.
pretty dope.
Yeah, that's
And,
amazing.
like, there's a couple other services I know that you can find like battle rap audio for. But I also think like battling the visual is still a cool.
Yes, it is very important. Yeah, it is.
The audio's
Oh,
dope,
yeah.
especially if you're big on like writing and whatnot. Then the audio is super dope. But a lot of battlers, the visual presentation is what makes some of their material like better than it is. You know.
What I like about you is like it's you appreciate the sport. Like when you lost the Fresco, and you're just
Word.
like, give that man 1,000. Like,
Yeah.
why is it so hard for a lot of battle rappers to just everyone's 35-0. No one's
Yeah, it's weird to me. It's like nobody wants to admit defeat, but I mean, especially at we're at a point now where they're not even judged.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
it's if I won or lost in someone's eyes, they have their set of criteria that determines that.
Mhm.
That's, you know what I'm saying? That's all good with me. I think you can only grow from even being able to accept the fact that you lost in the first place. That's only going to make you better in the long run, because you'd be like, well, I don't want that to happen again. As good as I was, I don't want to allow someone to do that again, type of shit. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I mean, for me personally, I've been dealing with that specific sort of thing from battlers for basically as long as since I started winning shit in like 05, 06.
Yeah.
Once I started winning stuff, every person I battled was going to give me their best.
Mhm.
That's just how it was. Like, especially once I like had my win streak in 06, then I won Scribble, and then me and Ilmac won the first World Rap Championships. From that point forward, every battle, 99% of the battles that I've had, people are trying their best to beat me. And it's just something I've had to accept and deal with. And if someone gets the better of me on that day, whatever, it's all good. Like, I mean, long term, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Me and Brian always talk about, I know Brian's brought this up to other people we've had on, the longer format. Do you prefer the shorter 3-minute ones or the 50-minute battles?
I definitely don't these days have much time to watch an hour-long battle or a 45-minute battle. I remember, like, Disaster is probably my best friend in battle rap.
Yeah.
And one of my closest friends in life, period. I walked out of the venue after the first round of him and Solcon because it was so fucking long. It was their first rounds were each like 14 minutes or something like that, and I might even be underselling it. They both could have very well been longer than that. But either way, I was just like, yo, I can't stand here and watch this. Like, I prefer personally when I get booked, I'm going for like between 90 or between 1.5 minutes and 2.5, something like that. I'll do 3-minute rounds if somebody's like a big stickler for it. If I were to battle Iron Solomon or a battle of that much significance, I think 3-minute rounds probably makes sense for sure. But for me, like, I don't feel the need in like dragging on these long ass battles. The majority of my battles are between like 17 and 24 minutes or something like that. And they're easy to watch, super digestible. You can watch it without feeling like you're overcommitted for you know what I'm saying? It's watching an episode of Workaholics. It's nothing. You know?
I feel like the person in those longer ones, the person who goes first loses out because you hear the second person. And if you're going for 15 minutes, that's all, you don't remember what the first person said.
Yeah, you have a huge advantage in the longer rounds if you're going second. No question. I've done one round battle that was like 5 minutes for the one rounder, and that was actually, it didn't ever really drag at any point. It was actually pretty fun, and that was like a flat earther that I ended up battling. So like I had like a good 20 bars of like flat earth material after like the regular stuff leading up to it. It was pretty tight.
Awesome.
Now, I want to get into the gambling stuff, how you became a poker player, but really quick, will you and Ilmac ever battle again, or no?
I mean, I think there's probably a reasonable chance. It just all depends on someone reaching out to make it happen. It was very close to happening in last December, but fell through. Just it didn't. I mean, it's not even the league's fault that it was supposed to happen on, but some people basically did shady business towards the league, which cost them a lot of money, and there was nothing we could do about it. But we were like set to go over somewhere and have a really big 2-on-2.
Nice. All right.
Real quick, one quick question. Do you think it's harder to do 1-on-1 battles or 2-on-2?
Probably 1-on-1 because of how good my teammate is for the 2-on-2s. Okay. We always even cut, like he says it in one of the first interviews that we ever did after like one of the WRC battles where they were like, yo, like what's your guys' strategy and this and that? And Ilmac's like, well, all I really have to do is just kind of not fuck up because he's not going to fuck up. And then we're just not going to lose. And that's kind of always how I've looked at it. Like, all right, well, all I have to do is my part. Because I know my teammate is an alien, and there's, you know what I'm saying? It was never like a concern, you know? And we all, even, especially in the peak of like the freestyle shit, we like functioned on the same wavelength. We were able to finish sentences like it was insane. I've never had that with any other person I've ever rapped.
I've never seen that. The way you two bounced off each other, like with
it was ridiculous. It was like sharing a supercomputer.
Yeah, like I remember specifically the one in 07 when you battled Dumbfounded and Satire, and you were like, all you made Ninja Vanis was a kitten sandwich, and he bam right in. That's where my missing cat went. Just like what the fuck. Like, how the hell?
How do you guys even prepare? Like, are you guys on the phone? Are you guys physically together? Like, how do you
crazy? That's another thing too. Yo, that was probably our biggest handicap. Every other team that we battled had the advantage of, for the most part, being from the same town and hanging out with each other in person and building shit. Ilmac lived in Portland. I lived in Monterey, California. So we were talking on AOL Instant Messenger pretty often. We're talking on the phone when we could. And then when these events happen, though, we would literally link up the day or maybe 2 days before the actual battles happened. And we would just like chill, smoke, and be like, so what do we even know about these guys? Well, I guess we're just going to have to take it as it comes, you know? And then we would show up, sort of size up the competition. We would start walking around the venue, and like I would tell him if I came up with an idea, he would do the same, and we would just sort of build it from there. It was, I mean, the amount of like magic that just fell into place, though, especially the first year, it's absolutely crazy. There's nothing like that.
I want to say the one bar that I think changed the face of battle rap when you battled Zest with your Christian Bale line.
The Christian Bale line, yeah.
That was it. That changed the entire.
That was like the next step. That was like, because before that, I mean, even 6 months before that was when I battled Franco, and I had the James Vanderbeek on 8 grams of tweak, and that in itself was like a huge. People were like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" And then once I hit that switch, I just sort of like figured out. I mean, my like word bank. It was like a Rolodex. Like I would say a word or a phrase, and internally I can just see a list just going down like a reverse computer, and I can just pick and pull, and that's. I mean, once I learned how to flip that switch, it was like impossible to turn off. It was insane.
Now, who was the hardest person you had to prepare for battling? Because I know in the cannabis whole debacle with Disaster, you mentioned that Kruger was tough to prepare for. And he was
because it was so short. It was hella short notice. The thing, like, we didn't even get that battle confirmed until maybe 4 days before the event or something like that. And
wow,
I remember being like semi-skeptical, but I wanted to battle on that card because of what it was. So I was like, well, yeah, I'll fucking do it. Like, of course. Like, Ganic was just like, yo, help me out. Like, I got you. Like, I'll pay you X amount. We're good. I was already in LA at the time, so I didn't have to ask for like travel or accommodation or anything, and I could just flat fee, which is even better as a battler always. And Kruger to me was like the thing that made it hard is like I had known him since Jump Off's inception because he was a fan. He was a Jump Off fan since the beginning of the Jump Off era. So I knew that he's the kind of like studied every move type of shit. And for him to accept a battle with me on such short notice means he was ready for it before 4 days was the deadline. You know what I'm saying? And like he had probably just been hypothetically preparing loose ideas or something along those lines, maybe. And I think mostly it was just because it was such short notice that they had told me on. The funny thing is nowadays, like that's how I prepare now. Like I don't start writing until the week of the battle more often than not nowadays. But but having the comfort of knowing about it for a while at least allows me to like build ideas and concepts and sort of write them down. And then once the week of the battle hits, that's when I start grouping everything together. I start like sort of piecing rounds together and shit.
Yeah. Nice. So how do you go on, Eric?
I say like back in the day, like now it seems easier. I mean, I could never do it, but it seems easier for you guys to find dirt or just information about somebody through social media, through YouTube.
I mean, just because it's the information era now. I mean, it makes it. And these are folks who now, a lot of them I've known 10 plus years or even 5 plus years or something like that. Because I've been battling for King of the Dot alone since like 09 or 2010 or something like that.
That's what I was going to ask. What about in 09? How did you get this information about people back then? You know what
people
I mean?
would tell. There's always people who wanted to be cool, who had inside info. People would tell us some stuff you obviously have to take and embellish. Some stuff just isn't plain true, and you just make it sound true. A lot of it is like what Ilmac said about our battle. Like at the end of it, a lot of it is controlling the narrative. And if he can make you even think that what he said is for real, then he's done his job because the fact that you're even pondering it. You know what I'm saying?
Was that the whole where he was explaining what he wrote?
That was me. Yeah, that was me.
Right.
Yeah.
So will you guys ever battle each other again, or that's off the table?
I mean, if it would take a large sum of money for sure, but like an amount that I don't ever expect anyone to offer.
Right. Gotcha. So let's veer into the gambling aspect. How did you get into cards? How did this happen? Like your Twitter handle was like Gambling Pete. I was like, what?
Gambling battle.
Yeah, you're like showing stacks of chips on your Instagram. Like, when did you become a professional poker player? How did you veer into that?
I've been playing for at least 15 years now, something like that. I've been playing for a long time. Basically, I started playing at my local card room like right around when I turned 21, which was like 2002. Maybe I started playing 2003, something like that. And I think it was 03 pretty sure it was 03 that Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker main event. He was like an amateur player who qualified for the biggest poker tourney in the world at the time. It's like a yearly event, $10,000 buy-in.
Yeah.
First place was $2 million. This guy qualified on the internet for $30 and ended up winning the tourney for $2 million.
Wow.
So much
insane.
Like it's absolutely
that's
insane.
a pretty good flip. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And his name's Chris Moneymaker, which makes the story even more wild. And he's just like super humble Southern dude from Tennessee. One of the nicest dudes ever. I played with him last year, like during the World Series of Poker main event. Super cool guy. And amateur player ends up winning it on a stacked final table of like established pros at the time. Wins it for $2 million. And much like the 8 Mile boom of battle rap, this Chris Moneymaker winning via online poker qualifier for $30 created the online poker boom, and then sites started popping up left and right. It was such fast money. I've always had a math brain. Like numbers have always processed really quick with me. I have a pretty freakish memory, which is why I'm able to write my rounds. It's like so last minute if I actually need to, and still be able to like present them. But it pretty much seemed like a natural fit. It was just about figuring out the math and then the people aspect of the game as well. My local card room was full of just terrible players.
Yeah.
So then I downloaded a couple of the poker sites online, started learning online with a couple of like my good friends who are still like some of my best friends to this day. One of them I ended up living with for like 7 years, my old roommate Drew, and he and I, like more than any of my other friends, ended up like working the hardest on the game together and learning the game together. Because we got an apartment together when literally neither of us had a job. We just both had a couple grand to our name. We got the apartment approved the week before I went to Scribble 06, which was the first Scribble I won. Then I ended up going out there and winning it and coming back and being like, oh, sick, I can put like somewhat of a poker bankroll together now too. Then 06 WRC happened in Vegas, ended up winning. We got 5 apiece for that.
Yeah.
Ended up taking my money to, well, not all of it, but I cashed the check that they gave me. Took $2,500 to a game at Caesars, which was just like a 2-5 no cap game, a no limit hold'em game. Ended up meeting Tim Duncan, which was super tight.
Nice.
And ended up parlaying the 2,500 into like just under 7K. And then I was like, okay, we have like a real bankroll here. And that's when I pretty much started playing like full time. And then I ended up for a little while in my local card room getting a job working as a house player, basically. And I was just paid hourly to play to sort of help keep the game going.
What is that? What's a house player exactly?
I'm employed by the casino or by the card room,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm playing with my own money. But they're paying me hourly to be there and to play. I'm basically there. The way the house makes money off of poker, they take a certain amount of money out of every pot that's dealt.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's like 10% up to 50 or 60, so $5 or $6 max. Some rooms take more than that. But most rooms take somewhere between $3 and $6 per hand. When a typical table is going to have 9 or 10 players. When the table gets down to 7, 6, and 5 players, the blinds start coming around a lot quicker, which are eating up player stacks, and you're losing a lot of money to the rake, the $3 to $6 every single hand. So the house players, they're called prop players. Prop players are basically there to keep the game full so that your regulars won't want to leave because they're playing shorthanded and losing blinds so quickly. Yeah. It was pretty crazy. And I mean, I was playing in a room where the field didn't really have a great understanding of the game. And I definitely had an edge in like every game I was playing in. Plus I was making $30 an hour being there. So it was a pretty sweet gig. And then when I ended up winning the next year, I just decided to take it off and be like, yo, I'm just going to start playing No Limit on my own. And
so
basically
did you ever join the World Series? Did you ever do the 10 grand buy-in? Did you join one?
Oh, yeah. I've played it I've played it 5-6 times.
How exhausting is that?
It's the biggest grind ever,
yeah,
for sure. I've made it 3 days every single time I've played, and it is the biggest grind ever. I think I've made day 3 5 times and day 2 1 time. But it is the biggest. It is draining. Yeah. You have to be thinking at the most dialed-in level you can be, basically at all times, unless you're somehow like lucky enough to get a table full of all people who have no idea what they're doing. But that's pretty rare in a spot like that. You get a lot of spots, a lot of amateur spots because of what the tournament is. It's like such a spectacle.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're still going to be dealing with, you know, a good handful of like some of the best pros in the world.
a lot of Kirkland pizza for that event, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I was eating good food. I was eating good for that. We were eating sushi every day.
Yeah.
We were eating like $1,000 sushi meals every day. It was absurd. I was actually I made like the ESPN feature table last year.
Oh, nice, man.
And the announcer knew who I was as a battler. It was dope.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was super fire. I have the story like saved on my saved stories on my Instagram. Like there's like a 2019 WSOP story that's saved, and it's like the announcer being like, "I know this guy. Who is this guy?" And then the other commentator has my bio in front of him, and he's like, "Oh, this is Pete Morris. He's like a resident pro out here in Vegas." And the other guy, Nick Schulman, who's like a poker legend as well. Like I've looked up to this guy for 20 fucking years. And he's like, no, I know this guy. He's like, this guy looks like the battle rap legend. And he's like, I'm trying to think of his name right now. And then his co-host has my bio in front of him, and he's like, wow, you're sick. This is Battle Rap World Champion Saurus. And he's like, I fucking knew it. He's like, I don't need a bio. He goes, this dude's a legend. He's been slaying people for years. And then he goes, as soon as this stream is over, go to YouTube and pay this man some respects. It was so bro, it was the highlight of my summer. It was so fucking
awesome.
It's
awesome.
crazy how many people in the poker community follow the battle rap shit. It's nuts. Like high stakes pros. I mean, I hit up Nick Schulman after this happened. I hit him up on Twitter and was like, yo, man, like, thank you for the kind words. That shit made my entire main event. And he's like, yo, thank you for what you do. You have no idea how many times, like, me and the high stakes guys will get done with a session and then watch battles for a few hours to unwind. And I'm like, wait, can you just tell me that again? Because what?
That's so
You know what I'm
crazy.
saying? Oh, it's so crazy. But, I mean, some of the biggest pros in the world, like, follow the battle rap shit. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if you guys follow poker at all, but there's some, some of the big names, like, they follow battling. It's weird to me. Like, Daniel Negreanu is one of the more well-known poker players in the world. He's a Canadian pro. He's in the movie Bodied.
Okay.
He like helped like be a part of that. It's wild. And there's like multiple poker players who helped for Bodied behind the scenes, which is crazy.
Right. Is Phil Helmuth still around?
Oh yeah, I played with Phil like might have been 2 years ago now at the Rio. I put a bad beat on him. It was amazing. Got him to jump out of his seat and start swearing. Oh, it was so tight. And then he was hella cool. As soon as he found out I was a rapper, he was hella cool.
Yeah.
It was so fucking funny because he's like known for the blow-ups.
Yeah.
And I knew as soon as the situation that took place happened that we were going to get a blow up. And like, even as it's like, as the cards are being dealt, like I'm tweeting, like I'm all in against Helmuth. And if I lay a bad beat on him right now, expect the story. You know what I'm saying? So basically I get all in for like whatever my stack was at the time. It's a very standard spot in tournament poker, but I had ace nine. I was in the small blind. Everybody folded to me in the small blind. I don't know if you guys play poker, but everybody folded to me. I have ace nine. I have like less than 17 big blinds, which isn't a lot. And in tournament poker, your stack size is everything. Phil Helmuth is also a pretty typically tight player. He plays pretty close to the vest. Ace nine small blind against big blind is a pretty powerful hand. So I just decided to rip it all in, thinking I'm going to take down the blinds more often than not. And worst case scenario, I get called by Phil and I get a story to tell. You know what I'm saying? So Phil hasn't looked at his hand yet. I go all in. He looks down at his hand. He goes, queen. Queen, queen, I call. And he jumps out of his seat and he shoves all his chips in the middle like you see him do in the videos and shit. And I'm like, oh, I can already feel the ace coming. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good. And we just drill the ace right on the flop. And he fucking jumps back like 4 feet from the table. And he's like, these motherfuckers just want to give me the fucking chips every time. And I'm like tweeting I'm like, oh God, we're getting the meltdown. It's happening. I'm dying laughing. And he's like, even the fucking game theory idiots aren't shoving all their chips in with ace nine there. And everybody at the table's dying laughing, including me. And I'm like, fair enough, Phil. And I go, that might be true, but I'm not a game theory player. I was like, I'm just some rapper clown who's here to have some fun. And he like pauses for a second and he's like, you're really a rapper? And some other dude at the table's like, oh, Phil, this guy's like a world champion battle rapper. And Phil goes, I fucking like you, buddy. And he gives me a handshake. Even as I'm raking in his chips, he's like, I fucking like you. And then he's like, what do you go by? I tell him my stage name. And then there's another pro at the table named Lane Flack who just has a castle of chips. He has all the chips. And Lane's like, well, yo, if you're a rapper, you got to give us like a little breakdown of what just happened to your boy Phil right there. And I was like, I'm sorry, Phil. I understand the ace nine was way whack, but I'm just trying to end the day with the same stack as Lane Flack. And the fucking table just like erupts. Everybody goes crazy. Phil puts his arm around me. He's like, I fucking love this kid. It was so, oh, bro, it was such a good story.
I'm so happy I brought his name up to get that story.
That's my dog.
He's like he's the only poker player name I remembered at this
And he's
time.
like known as the poker brat. He's like literally he reacts like such a baby when he loses with the best hand. It's so amazing.
No, that's a great story, man.
It was tight. He was a great sport. I loved it.
Bri, Eric, anything left for him before we get to our gun to your head?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Covered a lot.
All right, Saurus, we do something fun here just to ease the mood a bit. We have a gun to your head segment. We're switching it up here. You got to choose for one of these things, all right? We got 5 each for you. Dude Love or Dude Where's My Car?
Dude Love.
Nice. Full House the Show or Full House in Texas Hold'em?
Full House the Hand, for sure.
The Rock the Wrestler or The Rock the Movie?
The Rock the Wrestler.
Salt and Pepper or Salt and Pepper?
Wow, tough call. Salt and pepper, because I'm a big steak guy.
Gotcha. Would you rather have Sprint Service or Sprint 1 Mile?
Sprint 1 mile.
Yeah, me too, right? Shitty as hell in service. Bri, you're up.
All right. Tiger Woods or Tiger King?
Wow. Tiger Woods. I'll go with my boy T Woods. I saw him win in Pebble. I can't hate.
Wu-Tang or Tang the Drink?
Wu-Tang.
Okay.
Shout out to Method Man. It's the homie.
Dr. Dre or Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Dre.
Mike Tyson or Tyson Chicken Nuggets?
Mike Tyson for sure.
And the Washington Nationals or the national anthem?
Wow. The Nationals. I'm actually happy that they ended up winning the ship.
Good.
Okay.
Eric, you're up.
Okay,
Because
Super
Bryce was
Mario,
gone. That shit was fire.
Yeah.
Super Mario or Mario Lopez?
That's fucked up because everyone calls me Mario Lopez. I'm going to go with Mario Lopez. That's my dog. That's my avatar on the poker side I play.
Yeah.
I know, I said that earlier,
Right.
then he mentioned that. I was like, that's weird. I didn't even plan that. Ready? Lloyd Banks or Wells Fargo?
Lloyd Banks.
Okay. Would you rather live in Syria for a month or only eat cereal for a year?
Wow. Only eat cereal for a year. That's an amazing question. Holy shit. That is a really good question.
Thank you.
Eric, you're breaking up.
All right. Would you rather watch Titanic? Would you rather watch what? Breaking up.
No,
Would
you're
you rather watch Titanic or listen to Little Yachty?
Wow. Watch Titanic.
Okay. Would you rather live in 98 degrees weather forever or live to 98 degrees forever?
I live in Vegas. Live in 98 degrees forever. For sure.
All right.
Sure.
Thesaurus, plug yourself. Anything going on, man? We could catch you at your
That was
Instagram
great.
or
Beat me.
whatever.
I'm on Instagram at Thesaurus Wins. I just started a Cameo profile. I don't know if anybody knows about the Cameo app, but you guys can hit me up on there if you need like a custom shout out or if you want me to roast somebody for their birthday or something like that. I actually have to do one of those tonight, which is going to be super fun. People just give me info on a loved one and we roast them. I'm on Twitter at Gamble and Battle. I've got a Thesaurus Facebook fan page. Download my album, bandcamp.com or thesauruswins.bandcamp.com. It's easy to find. Thesaurus Wins for pretty much everything. Even Thesaurus Wins is also my Twitch channel. And once I get a new desktop PC, I'll be back streaming poker on Twitch and like freestyling while I play my tournaments and shit.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I saw your email and it was just like very direct, and I was like, "Oh, right, that's pretty."
Yeah, Thesaurus was taken. So
yeah, I was like, "All right,
go with World Rap Champion."
yeah,
you know what I'm
that's really
saying?
direct, man." No, man, thanks a lot for coming on, bro. I really
Thank you guys
appreciate
for
it.
having me, bro.
Thanks.
It was a lot of fun.
We watched you growing up, so it really is cool
Yeah,
that
man,
you decided
appreciate
to
it.
come on, man.